안녕하십니까? 오늘 두 번째 세션인 기업 사례 부분의 사회를 맡은 연세대학교 이희진입니다. 이번 세션에서는 스마트 워크를 활용하고 있는 각 기업들의 다양한 사례를 공유하는 시간을 갖고자 합니다. 그 첫 번째 발표로 국내에서 번역 출판된 스마트 워킹의 저자인 마쿠스 알버스의 발표를 듣겠습니다. 독일어 저서가 한국어로 바로 출판되는 경우는 흔치 않은 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그의 책이 독일어에서 바로 출간됐다는 것은 그만큼 그의 책이 아주 시적절하고 우리 사회에 주는 의미가 있었기 때문이라고 봅니다. 오늘 발표 제목은 스마트 워킹 The European Perspective입니다. 큰 박수로 마쿠스 알버스를 맞이해 주시기 바랍니다.
Hello. It's a great pleasure to be here in Korea. Actually, I was really happy when I got the invitation from Professor Lee, not just because I've never been to Korea before, and not only because of the great food and the great company I experienced, but also because I think that there are many similarities between Germans and Koreans when it comes to work. I think so, at least. We Germans, we take work very seriously, and we are very disciplined, and we have a culture where the person who stays in the office the longest wins. So basically, if you are a good worker, you work long hours. And I think it's probably a little bit like this in Korea as well. And I would like to show you today how this is changing in Germany and in Europe. Basically, I'd like to tell you, as Professor Lee said, a little bit about my book. In German, the title was Morgen komme ich später rein, which roughly translates as Tomorrow I'll be late for work. The Korean title is much shorter and I think much better. It's just Smart Working. In Germany, the book was a business bestseller, and not only all the media wrote about it, but also many people blogged about it and tweeted about it. So this topic of smart working is really important in Germany, and it's really on the agenda today. So why did I write a book about this? Actually, it was a topic that was close to my heart and I was personally interested in. Because 3 years ago I had this kind of job where you would be in the office like for 10, 11, 12 hours a day. I would probably could say I would have lived in the office 3 years ago. I was managing editor at a big magazine because I'm a trained journalist. So not just me, everybody else was working long hours, and I felt this is not only not a good way to live, it is also an old-fashioned way to work, and it's not a very productive way to work, because even if you stay in the office for 10, 11 hours, of course you don't work 10, 11 hours. What you do is, you just chat with colleagues, you go on Facebook, etc. So basically, I was wondering what became of all these promises of us becoming digital nomads, that we could work from anywhere with our laptops and mobile phones. So I set out to research this. It's always good to be a journalist because then you can go to companies. So I interviewed managers, I interviewed employees, I went to experts, etc., all over Germany, all over Europe, and even to the US. And basically I asked one question: why does work still very often look like this and not like this, probably? That's me writing the book. And I wanted to test my own theories, so I tried writing this book like in third places, as you say today, on the beach in Thailand, and in a shack in Norway, on planes and trains, etc. So you might say, okay, writing a book is something you can do anywhere, but if you have a proper job, you have to go to the office. But I'm not sure this is true anymore today, and I found many examples to prove this. But let's take a step back. What's wrong with going to the office, you might ask? Scientists have counted the certain activities we do in our lives and have added them up. So it's quite interesting to see what we do in our lives if you take the total. 2 weeks we spend kissing. 2 weeks we spend praying on average, of course. A little longer we play with our children, if we have children. A little longer even we clean the house. We exercise. But these are all very, very small numbers compared to the 7 years, 24 hours a day, on average, we sit in the office. So it's interesting to note that apart from sleeping, there's no other activity for modern men and women than going to the office. But the office is not always exactly the best place to work. I mean, there are even, in Britain, there's even a TV series about the absurdities of office life and the non-productivity of office life. It's called The Office, and there also is a German version. I don't know if you have this in Korea as well. But there's also rather depressing scientific research about how the office is not the best place to work. And I looked into the statistics. For example, you have on average, in the office, only 11 minutes to concentrate on one task before you get interrupted by your co-workers or your boss is coming in or an email is coming in, a phone call, a meeting, etc. And all the experts say that 11 minutes is not long enough to do anything, you know, substantial or creative. So if you want to be creative, and everybody is asking us to be creative these days, you probably better not go to the office. We are distracted a lot in the office. I think everybody knows this, and we are wasting quite a lot of time by being distracted. So it's not the most productive place to be also. For example, we check email much too often. Most people, if you ask them how often do you check email, they would say probably once every hour. But it's not true. We do it every few minutes, in fact. We are sitting in meetings much too often and much too long. And not all these meetings are relevant for us. And all this is actually costing money because people are getting less motivated. So in Germany, for example, 220 billion euros are lost because people don't really like the way they are working. And a very recent study, just a few months old, says that most Germans would actually like to be allowed to work from home or not from the office at least 1 or 2 days per week. But you know, I'm always not only interested in the statistics and in science. I also like to look at popular culture. So I don't know if you ever tried to search for the term office on YouTube. If you do, you might find this kind of video because there's a whole subculture of office videos. And you might want to check out this guy in the middle, in the front. He's having a bad day. A bad day at the office, of course. Yeah. It's so bad there's no sound to this video, but it is getting worse. You might ask, is this real or is this fake? Actually, I'm not sure, and probably it is fake. Probably this is not a real surveillance camera, but it doesn't matter. What I find interesting is that there's this whole bunch of videos on YouTube, and many, many people watch them about how people hate the office. And yeah, so it's getting worse and worse. I'm gonna cut it here, I guess. So out of some reason, many people don't seem to like the office. And also, we have to go to the office in the first place. We have to commute. This is a German number, but probably it's not that different in Korea. This commuting, as everybody knows, is not good for the environment, and it's not good for us. It's not good for the people. It was the Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman who did a survey asking people what do you like most? Which activity do you like most in your day, and which activity do you like least? So at the top end of the scale was sex, but at the bottom end was commuting to work. There's nothing people hate as much or dislike as much as commuting to work. But it doesn't have to be that way, because as we heard today, a lot of times there's this trend towards smart working, and actually, though we are talking about this for quite some years now, and at least since the late 90s, and all this talk about digital nomads, and then people were saying, okay, it didn't happen, it doesn't work, we're still going to the office. So it was one of those, ideas from the new economy that didn't work out. But actually, just the opposite is true, if you look at the figures from Germany, at least. Because when everybody was talking about digital nomads, etc., in the year 2000, almost no company would offer this. But the figures kept rising and rising and rising. And today it's a really important agenda point for almost all modern German companies and European companies. So what are the reasons? We have heard about them today. I'm going to give you just a really quick wrap-up. There are technological and there are cultural drivers for this. Technological is easy. In the past, we had to go to the office. That was where the copy machine was, the fax, the files on paper. Then we had this brief moment where we could work remotely, but it was really not very easy to do so. And The Economist, the magazine, coined the term, we were all digital astronauts at that time, the late 90s, because we had to carry so much equipment with us. But today, it's become easy and we carry the office wherever we go. So companies think, hey, why should we invest so much money into buildings? We should probably rather invest into people. And if you ask young people, fresh from university, the generation Y and Z, as they say, and the digital natives, if you ask them, what is a great job for you? What is a great employer? They would not say, I want, I want a corner office, or I want a company car, stuff like that. They would probably say, I want more flexibility. I want to be allowed to work from home 1 or 2 days a week. I want to, have a sabbatical sometimes. I want to log onto Facebook when I'm in the office. That's how you get the young people as a company today, and German companies are very aware of that. Also, maybe the same in Korea, but in Europe at least, we really, really want more women on the workforce, more skilled women, and until we have more flexible and mobile work arrangements, this will not happen. Because no matter how modern families are, most of the times, the outcome is the same. The man goes to work, stays in the office all day, and the woman, the wife, stays at home with the kids, which is not good. So there's a huge initiative from German government to change this, and they're going to companies asking them to offer more flexible work and more mobile work. Just very recently this year. And at the other end of the demographics, we have an aging society, we're all getting older, we will all have to work longer, but that also means that we have to find ways to make it possible for someone who may be 70 to still work. And this also can not be a job where he has to, commute to the office every day. This person will also ask for more flexibility. So what's behind this? I've brought you a few cases, as I promised. All of them have one thing in common. These companies I'm going to talk about are not measuring performance by time spent in the office anymore. That's the way it was done in the past. But now they are measuring rather by results. Because while you're still measuring time, you cannot let people work really flexible and mobile. It's just not possible. So here's one case from the US. It's not from Europe, but many European companies are looking at this company as an example, so I'm going to tell you about it briefly. Best Buy is the largest electronics retailer in the US. And they had a huge problem a few years ago because morale was low. People had to work long hours and they felt there was always someone looking over the shoulder. They basically couldn't leave the office. So Best Buy had a very, very high turnover rate. People were leaving the company and going to the competitors. So they had to do something about it, and these two women found the solution. They looked into flex time, etc., but they thought this is not enough. We have to come up with something more radical. And they found the solution. They called it ROVE, which means Results Only Work Environment. And it's really pretty radical, because now, today, at Best Buy, you can actually work wherever you want and whenever you want. You are encouraged to go play with your children on an afternoon, or go to the cinema, or come in really late. It's not a problem as long as the work gets done. And you know, and employees organize themselves using modern technology, using social media, etc. And this is an actual Best Buy employee and her kids. So, as we heard before, work is something you do, not a place you go. This is what they do at Best Buy. So you might want to ask, okay, can this work? It doesn't sound very reasonable, but there was scientific research surrounded this experiment, and it's all very positive. The productivity increased. They have less redundancies. That was important for them. At the same time, that's what I found interesting, they had more involuntary redundancies, which means people were fired. More people were fired. Why? Because in the old Best Buy office, you could just act as if you were very, very busy. You could stay the longest hours and you would go to every meeting, and everybody was thinking, ooh, okay, this is a really important employee. But it was hard to actually really measure your output. Now that they are not looking at time anymore, but looking at results, they can kind of, it's a presenteeism, that's the English word for it, if you stay in the office all the day, and they can uncover those people and find out whether they really do good work, and if not, they can fire them. So also, employee satisfaction is higher than ever before, so that's a positive example, and many European and German companies have been looking to it as an example. Also, Credit Suisse has been looking at Best Buy. So this is a very recent case I've been looking at this year even. Credit Suisse, you may be familiar with. It's a huge Swiss bank. It's a very traditional, little conservative company. It's a bank. But they are redesigning and rebuilding all their offices now, and they are calling it smart working even. So all the pictures you are seeing now are from a pilot office in Zurich, because they still have offices, but they redesigned them completely, and now they look like Google, for example. Doesn't look like a bank at all, but they want to redesign all their offices like this. Why? Because they had basically two problems, if you want. One, they found that most of the time, most of their desks were empty. It's the case in every company. I mean, everyone can tell you who's working at a company. People are away for a trip or for a meeting or on vacation or whatever. So the desks were empty. They wanted to change this. And also they want to be more attractive to a younger workforce. So, as I said, they have a pilot program in Zurich, London, and Singapore, and the global rollout will begin next year. So what did they do? Basically, they changed the desk ratio. We heard this today before. So they don't have a desk for every employee now. For example, in the past, they would have 150 desks for 150 employees. Now they will have 140 desks for 200 employees. And they encourage people to not come to the office every day, to work from home or from third places. But if they come to the office, and that's important, if they come to the office, they will find the most beautiful office and the one that is best suited for, collaboration. So it's not about saving money, it's about both things, So most employees want that. And also there are some astonishing figures. I'm not allowed to show you in print, but I can tell you. So most of the employees say they are better motivated today. They think that Credit Suisse is a better employer now. 76 of all employees, 76% say that they feel more appreciated by the company now with this new smart working scheme. And empty desks were reduced by 70%. So they are going to roll out this globally, and as I said, these are real pictures from a real bank, and by 2020 all Credit Suisse offices will look like this. I think that's pretty astonishing. Okay, in the book I have many cases from Germany, and I don't have the time to really go into them really deeply, but I want to give you some figures, and if you want to know more about this, I would encourage you to look into the book. IBM Germany, of course, does smart working, and they reduced office space by 50%. BMW reduced meetings by unnecessary meetings by 50% using smart working. Deutsche Bank is telling 60% of their employees, you don't have to come to the office every day anymore because you are mobile or super mobile even. SAP, Siemens also fight this presenteeism, and they don't measure the time people spend at the office anymore. And they also basically say, come if you want to the office, but you don't have to. And it even works in the public sector. There's one example that's very interesting, it's Wolfsburg City Council, and they have something called Vertrauensarbeitszeit. It's a long German word, but it basically means the same. It means we trust you, the employee, to work wherever and whenever you want. And for a city council, this could have been a problem because, of course, citizens want to go there and they want to find an open office. But office hours actually even increased because some people working there, they start early, other people work late. So for the customer, if you want, for the citizen, this is even better. So to wrap this up, we can say that in the near future, work will be, at least in Europe and in Germany, it will be more mobile, it will be more results-oriented, not looking at time so much anymore. It will be more flexible, of course, will be more equal in terms of men and women joining the workforce, and it will be more communicative. And that's interesting because some people say, hey, if I'm not going to the office every day, how do I keep contact to my co-workers? If I stay at home or if I work from a smart working place, I might feel isolated. And there is a problem to that, obviously. But some research suggests that the opposite might be true, because if you don't meet your colleagues in the office every day, you have to communicate even more with them by sending emails or chatting or video conferencing. So all this sounds very positive, the way I'm telling it to you, and I do believe it's a good thing, but still there are downsides, of course. We heard about that. There's this always-on mentality where you would check your job emails late at night and you will, work on that spreadsheet on a Sunday. This is happening already, and this is a big problem. And I think we all have to develop new tools to deal with this new world of working, because you cannot turn back the clock. I mean, this is going to happen no matter what. But probably we all have to learn to, you know, sometimes switch off the mobile phone and not be available. So to really give you a last wrap-up, there will, of course, still be work that looks like this. But more and more we will work in cafes. This is an actual cafe in Berlin. It's called the Sankt Oberholz. It's a meeting point of the digital community. And if you go there, you will see at virtually every table one person with a laptop working and drinking coffee. And you know, the Wi-Fi is free, the food is good. Young people like this. We will be working more in co-working spaces where you can rent a desk for a day or a week. This also is a real world example from Berlin called the Beta House. And of course, we will, in a corporate environment, be working more in virtual teams and, you know, on a higher professional level. And sometimes I'd like to think that we, if the weather is good, can also work in the park. And that's an idea I would like to leave you with. I think it's a great idea, and I like it. Thank you very much.